Welcome to the Community Workbench. I'm your host, Matt Noren. This episode is brought to you by yours truly, the realtor Matt Noren of Remax Bell Park Realty. For all of your real estate needs, call me at 860-428-6534. Your dreams are my job. This episode is also brought to you by Access Electric. For all of your electrical needs, call owner-operator Shane Young at 860-234-0532. Now back to the bench, where we interview small business entrepreneurs, community leaders, charities, and pretty much whoever I feel like talking to. Today we have two co-hosts, Shane Young and Kyle Morrissey, and our honored guests, Two Dogs Coffee Company. The owners and operators are Brittany and Gwillem Clark. Today we have Gwillem. Gwillem, please say hello. How are you?
Hello, I'm pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, it seems your passion is coffee.
Yeah, I would say one of my passions.
Okay. Just give us a rundown on, first of all, Shane, Kyle, say hello.
Sorry, I'm doing levels over here.
Okay.
It sounds great.
Thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for coming.
So, kind of give us, how did this all start?
Yeah. I met my now wife in 2016. Fantastic time dating. We both were into coffee, so we would go around to different roasters and cafes, trying out different drinks, different origins, that sort of stuff. COVID hits, and we're not allowed to do that anymore, right? Can't go into these places, can't get that FaceTime. I really liked talking to the roasters. So I said, screw it. I'm just going to order some beans offline. I got some, I don't know where beans from Amazon, could have been from anywhere. I took a cast iron skillet and I started roasting in my garage, and it was terrible. It took me like 45 minutes. Half of them were burnt. There's smoke billowing out of my garage in this, small neighborhood that we had. And then I was like, all right, I don't like failing, so I'm going to figure this out. So I'd been researching roasters online. I ordered a small craft roaster, about 500 grams at a time, like a little over a pound. And I just started messing around and making coffee.
So when a bean or beans come to you,
yeah,
they're flavorless? How does that work?
Coffee's a pretty amazing thing, right? I don't know if there's any winos listening right now or sommeliers, but I think coffee is the pinnacle when it comes to that sort of stuff. You have varietals from every country that grows coffee. They're all different. The elevation they grow, the soil they grow in, the plants that grow around them. And then once you get those green beans like these here, it's now up to the roaster to develop a flavor profile. And so every input and every variable that I use when roasting the coffee changes the flavor. So what is that? Ambient temp in the room, right? If it's cold, I have to take that into account when I'm roasting. The amount of moisture in the beans, the temp that I start the beans at, the temp I finish the beans at, how much air I apply or take away, all change the profile. So when you see all of those combined, it really allows you to create your own unique flavor profile for the beans that you roast. And so I got excited about that. I'm a tinkerer. My friends make fun of me that, I ride dirt bikes with, because every time we stop, I'm playing with the carb. So same thing when it comes to coffee roasting. I'm taking a coffee and changing the variables, the amount of air, the amount of moisture they start with, how long I roast it, temperatures, all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
So you can take the same bean, do it two different ways, and it will be a completely different flavor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, even more so than that, right? So there's different stages in the roasting process, and most people are familiar with light, medium, and dark. But there's infinite variables along that spectrum once you hit the Maillard reaction, which is where the sugars and amino acids start breaking down. And that's the beginning of a light roast, and that turns into what we call first crack. And that's when the bean starts to expand and moisture starts to completely come out of the bean, and it essentially, for a lack of a better term, is cooking at that point.
Huh. You want to sample your light roast now?
Yeah. So I have it ready.
I'm sorry. I've been so excited about this all week.
Stop talking. Let's just drink coffee.
Just so everybody knows, we are live on Facebook, and Kyle is monitoring it. If you have any comments, questions, we totally encourage that. Kyle, turn that down because we can hear it over the monitor. Actually, is there a buzz? Did we get rid of the buzz?
You want me to turn it up now?
Yeah, maybe a little. Actually, is there a buzz? Did we get rid of the buzz? Nice. Sounds good.
I don't hear a buzz.
I don't hear a buzz.
All right.
So, the next thing we got to work on is the screen. So we want people to be able to see the screen. We're doing some things with the studio, it has nothing to do with the lighting we found out this week. So we're either going to do picture in picture, or we're going to get this some way to light up better where it's not washed out on the video.
Yeah, if anybody's listening that has any ideas or experience in that, we'd love to hear from you.
So while we're sampling this, obviously you have 2 dogs, but what's the story behind the name 2 Dogs Coffee?
Yeah, so when we were coming up with the name and going through different roasts, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to call the business. And our 2 rescues, Penny and Frankie, Penny on the left there, Frankie on the right, were kind of just hanging out with us because they're kind of shadows. And so we're like, why don't we just call it 2 dogs? There's 2 of us, 2 pups. We're starting this ourselves, and we like that whole area to jump into, just like people that love dogs support all the rescues and
Absolutely.
that sort of stuff. So.
Nice.
And the logo's freaking awesome too.
It is.
Right.
Our friend up in New Hampshire, her father owns Northwoods Brewing, but she does a lot of their labels for their cans. Sarah Fennerty, she designed that logo for us after about like 25 calls from me on little tiny changes every time.
Can you do that?
Yeah. Frankie has a bit more gray now. Penny has a little bit less brown. But yeah, they're pretty awesome dogs.
That's great.
It's cool.
Yeah, so this stuff that I just poured, the way when we develop flavor profiles, we do a process called cupping. We take grounds, pre-measured amount of water, we put it in, and we use all of our senses to kind of understand the flavors that we're getting out of it, right? So smell the coffee, and then when you sip it, you want to pull some air in too, because all the different parts of your tongue have different, flavor glands, I guess maybe that's what they're called. So you get the umami, you get sour, bitter, sweet. This one is from Ethiopia. This is a naturally processed coffee. What that means is when they pull the cherries, which come off of the coffee plant themselves, they allow it to naturally ferment in the sun, and they'll rotate it depending on the quality, either hourly, daily, or weekly. So this is a naturally processed Ethiopian from about 4,000 foot, and we do this as a light roast.
Wow. And I am not
really good.
a light roast person. So for me, with coffee, you have to get as far away from the water flavor as possible. And this nailed it. And it's not even like a black coffee. It's like a light brown. It's almost like that,
Yeah.
you know? And it is really good.
Yeah, part of, we go to a lot of markets. We did Coventry this past year. We do the Putnam Farmers Market. We do some craft markets, makers, people. We're usually the only coffee people there, people with knickknacks and printed items. We made a lot of friends there. But the thing I enjoy the most is not even selling the bag, is talking to someone about coffee to get them to experience more than, a chock full of nuts that you get at Stop and Shop or something like that.
Right.
And I don't hate on other coffee roasters, because I wouldn't get into roasting if I hadn't met some roasters and tried it myself. I just want people to explore more than a traditional medium or dark roast. These light roasts are crazy, right? So this is our Strawberry Fields. Light roasts, they take longer to extract. So you get more, it's more delicate art to do the light roast.
Really?
And the other thing as well too is as you're roasting and you get into that light roast, I don't cook off all the fruit notes or all the berry notes or even the citrus notes that come out of it. Once you go to a traditional medium roast, like your average cup of Dunkin' Donuts, all that's gone. You've cooked it off. So you order these relatively expensive beans from the middle of Africa that maybe 20 people have had their hands on, and I keep it in that light roast range so you guys can taste all those different fruit notes inside of there too.
So what makes it light roast versus medium versus dark?
Temperature range. So like I mentioned, when you get into the Maillard reaction, which is where you start changing the sugars, that's like start mixing it sweet. You just get to first crack where the beans start to expand, and a real light roast or a blonde or cinnamon, that's when you'll drop it, which is about, depending on the bean, anywhere from 380 to 395 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow. So we are high temp.
So it doesn't. So dark roast, you're not roasting long or just hotter.
A little bit of both, depending on the origin, moisture content, that sort of stuff. Not to get too nerdy, but the
Get nerdy.
yeah,
Get nerdy. I love this.
But we're here for.
Okay, cool. The simplest way to put it is, a light roast, it contains the fruit and origin notes. A medium roast is the Maillard reaction with the sugars. It's caramelized, right? That's where you're going to get your caramel, sweetness, a little bit of chocolate. A dark roast is getting towards carbonizing, right? Like, so burning. That's where you start getting bittersweet chocolate. You get a little bit of smoke to it, right? French and Italian roasts are on the upper spectrum of roasting, 450, 460 degrees. And they basically almost completely carbonize the bean. But for traditional espresso shot, you want that because the milk will drown out all the flavor. If you make an espresso shot with a light roast and then you make it a latte, which is like 2 to 3 parts milk on top of that, you won't get as much flavor that comes through the cup.
Gotcha.
So that's like all these different roast levels has reasons for why we do that as well too.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I would have
No idea.
never thought it was so complex.
There's a huge flavor profile on what we just drank.
Yeah.
Huge flavor
You
profile.
can taste the sweetness.
Yep. And these are a bit more acidic too. And what most people don't know about light roasts, this is the firecracker, right? This is all the caffeine. As I roast it, I actually roast the caffeine away.
Really?
So everyone's like, "Oh man, I want a strong cup of coffee." I'm like, "All right, try this Ethiopian." They're like, "I don't like light roast." I'm like, "Dude, this is like almost double the caffeine of that dark burnt stuff you're drinking." So
Really?
Maybe
Yeah.
that's why I can go all day on 5 cups of dark roast.
Yeah.
Probably
Not
is.
get jittery
5 cups of coffee, Matt.
yeah.
easily.
And if you when you drink this, you really like slurp in that air, you'll get those sweeter umami flavors that come out in the coffee as well too. So
I can't believe slurping's allowed. This
Yeah.
is great. All right. So now you go from the lighter roast to is it medium, or is there an in between that, or would it like?
yeah, so at least for here, what I brought a medium roast, which is our most popular Frank's blend. That's Franklin on the right hand side there. I take a traditional nutty Brazilian and a chocolatey Colombian, and I smash them together. That's our medium roast, and honestly, it's like 60% of our sales. It's what we use in our cold brew, which we brought as well too. Real nice, sweet, chocolatey caramel flavor.
Now I will say you guys took all the work out of cold brew, because as someone who does cold brew a lot, and that takes with cold brew, there's usually way less of that acid flavor. And you guys sent me a kit,
Yeah.
and it's like you just put 4 cups of water in a pitcher, and it's a whole big tea bag that goes right in it, and you just let it sit for 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't
Steeping
know
it?
if you guys can see, but we really love cold brew ourselves. They make a lot of good equipment out there, but it's always a freaking mess when you're done. So my wife came up with this. She was looking online and saw these tea bags. You know, I kind of mentioned it a little bit. My whole family's from the UK, so like my whole life there was always a hot pot of tea in the house. I was like, man, why don't we just throw this in a tea bag? She found them online, and we started banging them out, and
Yeah.
just drop it in some water, go to sleep, you wake up, and you got cold brew.
Yeah,
That simple.
Yeah.
I got up yesterday morning, 6 a.m., thinking I'm gonna be either grinding or
Yeah.
at least pouring. And with a regular traditional toddy, you layer water,
Yep.
coffee, water, coffee, water,
Yep.
coffee. Do you get any difference if you don't have control over how coarse or thin the grinds are? Because like when I grind my own,
Yeah.
I owe it for regular toddy. It's
Yep.
usually really coarse. I have it like set as chunky as it can be. Really.
Yeah, so my background is in business and finance. My brother's a chemie, so hopefully he's not listening. But I believe it has to do with the amount of surface area on the grounds that you're doing themselves. A darker roast will extract, meaning you'll get the coffee out of it faster, and a lighter roast will extract slower. So you use those two variables, and when you grind the coffee for how you're going to make it, right?
Right.
If I'm not applying heat, kind of like when you wash your hands, if you use cold water and soap, you don't get as much dirt. Use hot water and soap, it comes off real fast. So with cold brew, the reason why I have to wait so long is because it has to extract through all of that coffee. So typically I will do a coarse ground, and that helps me eliminate any of the real fine particulate, which will can make it have like a dusty flavor, if that even makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So that allows it to extract through, keep all the sweetness. And because you don't apply any heat with a cold brew, it's way sweeter than a traditional coffee. You almost don't need to have any sugar with it at all, and it tastes sweet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how smooth it is, and the acid thing to me was what surprised
Oh, yep.
me. My first cup of cold brew, I'm like, this is like I can drink this black. Like,
Yeah.
this is like, and most of the time I am black or maybe a little bit of cream, depending on
Yep.
where I get it from, what flavor it is, that kind of stuff. Because I'll dabble in like the pumpkins and some of the other flavors that,
I like that stuff too. Like I was talking about before, because there's so many types of green beans and you can roast them so many ways. Now you get into brew methods. You can brew it so many different ways.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, now I can add sugar, or I can add cream, or I can add salt, which is not, a lot of people don't know that you can add salt to your coffee and it changes the flavor profile again. So if you layer all of these on top of each other, I think it smokes anything else out there in terms of complexity or uniqueness to the drink that you're having, right?
Yeah.
Wine, you have grapes, you have the grape varietals, and they say you must, ferment it this way, and then you get these type of wines. Coffee blows that away, because once you have the green bean, then the roast, then the brew method, then the quantities of water, then the sugar, then the milk. It's crazy. You can make it so different, and that's why I find it so interesting. And so I still go to roasters and cafes now that, my house is full of coffee, but I'll still go there because I want to try something different and see what they're doing and see what they're exploring.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So in reality, 5 people could buy the same beans and you could have
5
completely different coffees.
Yes, and that is a good thing, and it's also a difficult thing to work with, right? Because someone could buy a bag of beans and they brew it incorrectly or burn it or do something like, oh, this stuff tastes terrible.
Right.
So that's where our Frank's blend, our medium roast, is so good. You cannot mess it up. You can't mess it up.
You guys,
I'll take that challenge. I'm sure I can.
Let's do it. I'm not scared.
When you gave Matt some of the coffee, there's some cards. Do you guys give some instructions on how to brew certain blends?
Yeah. So on our cold brew kit, it actually has an instruction on it, like how much water. Yeah, it's right in the bag. How much water to apply to it, how long. We do have some cards there too about some of our options that we have. But we also offer brewing instructions on our website as well too.
Okay. Very
And speaking of that sort of stuff, we are opening a shop, and as part of that, I want to be able to invite people in to learn how we brew and make coffee as well. Our hours will be shorter, like 3 o'clock maybe when we close. But we'll have some after hours learn about coffee events. Is something I wanted to do.
That's neat.
And try that out as well too.
You're gonna do tastings and
yeah. And we're self-funded, right?
Right.
So I work a full-time job. My wife's a full-time mom, and we funded this all out of our own pocket. We're funding the cafe out of our own pocket as well too. Eventually, we're going to create a roasting space and profiling lab is what I'm going to call it. And I want to be able people to come in and be like, "Hey, Gwil, I want to come, check out the process." And I have nothing to hide, right? Proprietary information or not, you still have to be able to have the ability to roast it. But I want to come in and be like, "Hey, I'm doing a new roast. Come test it out." Because I have a couple friends that I send bags of coffee to now, and I'll send them, a roast from 400 all the way to 430, 5 or 10 or 12 different levels of roast. So, I want to be able to do that with other people too, and have customers come in and be like, I love your Franks, but I want something a bit different. Have them come in and help me develop a profile. That'd be fun too.
People will love that.
Yeah.
Do you have a target date for when your storefront will be open?
Yeah. The line in the sand is April 24.
April 24.
No matter what happens, we're making it happen and open up on April 24.
And that's at 157 Main Street, Danielson, Connecticut.
Yeah,
So
it's going to be awesome. It's about 1,000 square feet. Our goal first was to make it a community space that sells coffee, right? So it's going to be a cafe, but we want people on Main Street within Danielson to be able to come down, have a really good coffee, have an amazing pastry or toasty, and hang out in some comfy seating, use the Wi-Fi, and just chill for a little bit. It's not going to be a high volume transactional environment. That's not what I want. And because I work full time and my wife will be running it, we have the option of not driving that way.
Right.
I guess that's the nicest way I could put it.
Although if there's a big demand,
Yeah.
you might have a line out the door.
Yeah, maybe. That I hope it gets to that point, and then we'll use that not to put that money back in our pocket, but use it to open up another cafe and share that experience with another town.
Right.
Nice.
That's
Nice.
great. And that
Smart.
homey feel will go a long
Yeah,
way.
homies. We'll have the homies.
Well, I mean, homey feel. Just quickly back to the cold brew. I just read the instructions. It's super difficult, huh?
Yeah.
So those of you listening, water, put the pouch in 12 to 24 hours, and you're done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
So-
I think sometimes like we got used to some of these like big coffee retailers, coffee shops, and you pay a lot of money for a cup of coffee, and it seems really complex. Honestly, I tell everyone that comes to our booth, buy the whole bean because it'll be better for longer, and you'll get a better experience, right? Because you're not grinding it and oxidizing the coffee. Go to Walmart, get a $20 cashew peanut grinder, get a $20 Bodum French press, and you can literally make the best cup of coffee in your house with those two pieces of equipment.
Really?
Yeah.
So how long do grounds last after you've ground them?
So as long as we bag them, so we heat seal all of our bags, and they're foil lined. They'll last in the bag 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So
You'll
if you're
have-
grinding at
Yeah.
home, you got to use that day for it to be optimal, right?
Yeah, so there's a couple interesting things that happen. The lighter the roast, the peak flavor takes to develop post roasting.
Okay.
The darker the roast, like I have a dark Sumatran over here. 8 hours after I roast it, it's peak flavor, and you can drink it right then and get all of the flavor notes. Light roast, it typically will take 2 or 3 days to off gas to get to the level that you want. But once ground, you should use it immediately. I always try and tell people, don't grind before you brew. Get a grinder that's fast so you can make it boom right there. And that's all the flavor comes out then.
Yeah, and I have a regular pot thing that you can turn the grinder on or off.
Yep.
It can even start in the morning by grinding.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
awesome.
brewing. It drops right into the basket and brews. And I want to say I've experimented with the reusable basket versus filters. I like the basket for more than just it's reusable. I like it because it lets more oils.
Yes.
And I like that profile better.
Yep.
Is that something that you guys go like if you open when you open your shop, would you be doing it through a paper filter or basket or how
Yeah, so in a consumer space, like at your house, right? I always drive towards a French press because there's no paper involved, right? So all the oils that are in the coffee are allowed to come through, and that's why you have a much smoother cup. That's why this light roast tastes the way it does.
That's how you did
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
When you use the paper, you pull the oils out of the coffee. Sometimes with a darker roast, that's better. But I typically recommend French press, get the oils that come through, and you'll have a way smoother cup, better mouthfeel as well. In a commercial environment, what we'll have is an espresso machine. So when you guys see a shot of espresso pulled, that crema that is coming off, that lighter, bubblier stuff, that's a lot of the oils that are coming out into the cup. And so when you pull an espresso shot correctly, you get every opportunity for all the flavors to come out of the cup. And there you build drinks off of it, right? Espresso shot in water makes an Americano. Espresso shot in equal parts milk is a cortado. Then you have lattes, cappuccinos, mochas, all that sort of stuff.
So espresso beans are just these green beans roasted a certain way?
Yeah. So when you think of an espresso roast, or when I develop an espresso roast, I'm not doing it to a espresso level of darkness. I'm specifically roasting it to pull a really good shot, right? I'll just say it I increase the dry time on the bean to make sure I pull enough moisture out. So when you pull that shot, you get the right amount of crema.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go really dark, and it's kind of a shame. Hopefully no traditional Italian espresso drinkers listening, but that level of darkness that you get in that shot totally makes sense when you use a lot of milk. Otherwise, you'll just lose all the flavor. But I'm a weirdo, I guess. I'll do espresso shots with a light roast because I want super concentrated, fruity, citrusy notes to come out in that shot, and it'll come out. Like we had a Ethiopian sweet penny, and it literally had blueberry tasting notes. It was like a cup of blueberries and coffee mixed together in that espresso shot, like highly concentrated.
That's awesome.
So now when you talk about an espresso that's roasted bolder, at
Yep.
a high level of temperature. So why is it that like you get an espresso shot and it's like an extra jolt of caffeine? Is that like a myth or?
No, it's just that it's a concentrated form. Like if you think about it when you pull it through, I'm putting typically 18 grams of coffee for 36 to 40 grams of output, meaning the water and coffee particulate that I get out of it. So compare that to a regular cup, and you're just getting the same volume of coffee extracted in a much smaller amount because it uses the pressure to reduce the time to brew the coffee, right? So we make a pot over here 4 or 5 minutes, right? Because there's no pressure. It's just free falling through the coffee. With the espresso machine, the temp and the pressure forces those oils and volatiles and flavors to come out of the coffee into that shot. So it's the same as drinking an 8-ounce cup of coffee, just in
a smaller form.
36 grams.
Is that why it's ground so fine? So that you
Yep.
can pack it so that the pressure.
Yeah, so we could get really nerdy here through all the levels. Like, I love espresso. I think it's the best way to drink coffee personally, just because I can make it so quick when I leave my machine on. But there are even more variables in espresso than there is in regular coffee.
Oh, no kidding.
Brew temperature, brew pressure, pressure profiling, which is where, I start my machine at 4 bars of pressure up to 9. I go to 10. I come back down. It gets really crazy.
Wow.
So if you're someone who likes to tinker and like really get into something, espresso is the way to go. But it's a little bit higher price of entry.
Yeah. Wow. So I was like, I've never really done espresso because
Yeah.
I've always been very sensitive to caffeine.
Yep.
And I actually did intermittent fasting for a little while.
Okay.
And I could have coffee and not get jittery. It was when I had coffee with like sugar or bagel or something like that. And it seemed like the combination was what made me really jittery. So I would end up having to drink a ton of water to counteract it.
Yep.
Now I can have just coffee casually and water as long as I don't have any sugar with it. And so now I'm wondering if I could have espresso too.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I
don't drink coffee after 3:00 because I'll be up all night.
Oh yeah, I'm the worst.
Even without jitters, sometimes it won't shut your mind. It won't let me shut my mind off.
Yeah. My mind doesn't shut off anyway from everything else going on in life. But I think that's really interesting. I'm definitely gonna go home and look at that and like kind of figure out why that happens. In traditional espresso, what the Italians came up with, they developed those espresso-based drinks to fit whatever they were eating or doing that day. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but you're typically supposed to have a cappuccino or a latte in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. No one in Italy that drinks traditional espresso has a latte in the afternoon because there's so much milk in it. It's so filling. You're getting ready for supper, right? To have pasta and all that sort of stuff. You're not going to fill yourself up with that. So they'll have either just a straight espresso, which is either a double or a single shot, or a ristretto, which is like another size of espresso, just to kind of give them that afternoon like bump. So we've Americanized it, kind of beat it up a little bit over here. We've
Like everything.
Yeah, we're getting lattes at 5:00 in the afternoon, loaded with sugar and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it is really interesting to explore that stuff.
I think our coffee drinking is guided by revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting that, for you to say, let's not be so transactional with the coffee shop where it's somewhere you can just go, relax, read a book and drink coffee, which one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I think, so I work in project management, continuous improvement. My job is to help businesses like the one I work for now save money and be more profitable. Right. And a lot of that is about reducing waste, managing supply chain, integrating, that sort of stuff. I'm the roaster, right? So I roast the beans. So now I have better margin on the beans. When I go into the shop, I'm going to be buying my beans from my roasting business. So I'll be able to turn that back into a better price for the customer. And that allows me to focus more on customer service and experience.
Yeah.
And I feel, at least for me, prior to corporate, manufacturing world, I was in sales. I worked at a GameStop when I was like 17, right? And then I worked at a Best Buy, right? So like, I feel that if we give a really fantastic customer experience, and we make people want to come there, I won't have to think about the profitability or the revenue. I think that'll happen naturally.
Wow.
Yeah, I think taking the pressure off the customer to purchase something or continuously purchase something, will guide people to the store anyway.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to stuff like, with coffee. I log all my data, I capture all the variables, and I really focus that. We've met some fantastic people at other markets that have the same mindset when they make their products or food. Shout out to Keith's Creations. He's in we met him at the Winter Market in Danielson at that church there. I forget the name, so apologies for that, but fantastic dude. He makes amazing pastries and concoctions and bread bowls as well too.
Oh.
And it's all home kitchen, right? Like he has a home kitchen license, something like that. But we've met a lot of really good people, bakers, pastry makers. So we're going to work with them and develop some stuff for ourselves. But it is goal 2, amazing pastries. So that's really what we want to fire on.
Okay.
So come in, amazing coffee, amazing pastries, and some fantastic toasties, essentially like toast, avocado toast, or a caprese toast, or some like Southwest toast. When we've been to all these coffee shops in different areas to get food, I worked in Providence for a while. There's a million freaking restaurants there. They're all really good. We're going to take all those elements and add them to stuff that we can serve people in the shop and not overwhelm you with a POS system that has a million trinkets surrounding it. Buy our chapstick and our applesauce and I don't want to do that. That's not us.
Gotcha.
The coffee is going to be really good. The espressos, the lattes, the drip. We want to put in a nitro cold brew. That's one where we're kind of on the fence figuring out. So we can have people come up, you buy a cup, and I'll let you self-serve nitro cold brew, which is pretty fantastic drink if you've never had it.
I have not. I don't
No.
know. Like I said, I'm
dude, it's
pretty
really good.
sensitive to caffeine. So when they put nitro in front of it,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
do I want to be up for the next 3 days?
It's stored in a keg, right?
Yeah, so it's a
wow.
combination of brewed cold brew, and they inject nitrogen like you would with a Guinness.
Mm-hmm.
So it changes the mouthfeel and
Smooths
flavor.
it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need anything in a nitro cold brew. Black, and it is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have to try that.
Yeah, that's
Just take a little sip.
Just take a little sip.
So really, your store is going to be about atmosphere,
Yeah, 100%.
and at the same time making a living or trying to make a living.
Yeah, I think we'll do okay. The way I talk to people that come into our booths at these markets, I'm throwing a dart. 50% of the time it lands on coffee. 50% they're like a tea drinker. And maybe there's a little percent of those people that don't drink either. So
Right.
if that's 50% of the population, and we get 12,000 cars a day that go through Danielson, I did some of the economics on that. I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
And if we serve good stuff, if you build it, they will come. type
Absolutely.
thing. Field of
Yep.
dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coffee shop of dreams, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, Killeen has a pizza house way out in the middle of the woods, and it was there for 30 years, and I think the new owner's still doing all right too. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. If it's good stuff, the word will travel and people
Yeah.
will get there. So,
And that'll be good for us, because if it isn't good stuff, we'll know pretty quick. So
do you have anything else for us to sample?
yeah, I don't know if you guys want to chug these and go on to something else. It's totally up
Mine's
to you.
gone.
Mine's going.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready.
It's empty.
You can't put coffee in front of us and expect us to look at it.
All right, yeah.
So Shane,
Matt,
how you doing?
I'm drinking coffee at what time is it? 8:47 in the morning. So
8:47.
doing all right.
It's good.
How's the feedback from the web?
I didn't expect this many viewers at 8 a.m., but there's
Nice.
20 people watching.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Any comments?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of comments. I guess Jason likes his coffee pretty dark, Brittany said. So, but she said the longer you cold brew sits, it makes more of a concentrate. So,
Right.
So obviously, if you want it to sit for 48 hours, right, you end up with a darker brew.
Yeah, when I do cold brew, I started out by putting this much cold brew and then the rest water.
Thank you.
And it was like a quarter of the cup would be cold brew. Now I'm up to 50% would be cold brew, and then the rest would be water, because it always makes a pretty high concentrate.
All right. So what is this that we're about to sample? Oh, you don't have your headphones on yet.
I can still hear you though.
Oh, I know that.
I believe this was we put the medium roast in this one, the Frank's blend, and the dark roast in this one, right?
Correct. I had the bags in front of
that makes
each.
sense.
Yes. So.
Yeah, so this is our Frank's blend medium roast. This is our most popular coffee. So like I said, nutty Brazilian and a chocolatey Colombian smashed together. This goes good no matter how you have it. A lot of people like this dark, but I brought the cream out as well too, because when you start to get to those medium roasts, that'll help balance out some of that flavor as it gets darker and darker.
Gotcha. Do you have a cream that you prefer? Is there like I've done heavy cream too before with coffee.
Yeah, I'm so weird, but I'm dairy free, right? So I have to do all these like soy and cashew, and when I originally like found that out like 5-6 years ago, I was really disappointed. But man, some of the dairy free stuff is fantastic. That cashew based milks are really, really good. But I think just a straight half and half is kind of the best way you can go. You want the fat content in there,
Right.
as well against the coffee.
Yeah, that's why like when you heavy cream, if I see one, especially at one of these from a local farm or
Yep.
whatever, I try to do that where they have the milk that separates if you let it sit. Is that like non-pasteurized raw milk or whatever? And that
Maybe.
will give you a heavy cream on the top.
The
too.
fat, fat
and
sits
that's-
on the top
and
of
I've
the
done
raw milk.
Some experiments.
There's so many jokes right now. But I'm trying to behave. Trying to behave. So this is, I think I like the first one we had a little better. I think there's more of a flavor profile in that.
Yeah, it might be a bit stronger too, with the French press and the amount of grounds that I put in. That's something also that's good to play around with, the quantity of coffee you add when you brew a cup. People want to typically like short it to make the coffee go longer, but like it's a whole experience drinking the cups. You kind of lose some of that.
Years ago in my early 20s, I made coffee for a little dinner party, and my in-laws were there. And I always make coffee before, like if I would just get regular, whatever, medium roast that is on every shelf. And I would always put double, it's teaspoon per cup. I would put, a heaping teaspoon or 2 teaspoons per cup. And I would make it like that. And my in-laws were like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "This is strong." And I'm like, "Well, I tend to make it strong." And they're like, "Oh, we cut it in half."
Yeah.
So they put like half of the coffee in there. So
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing
okay.
too. A lot of people drink coffee purely for the caffeine.
Mhm.
It's almost like kind of like I eat a bagel for the carbs or something like that. I have a cup of coffee, so I have my caffeine every day, and I think they can kind of like spoil the experience of having a really good cup.
yeah.
So once you get into that, it's kind of a good bad situation, right? If you drink, be polite, entry level coffee as a reason to get caffeine, and you get spoiled with a nice bag of coffee, it's hard to go backwards.
I'll say that for sure. I very rarely go out for coffee now. And my wife is even less of a coffee drinker. She only has maybe 1 or 2 a month. And it's got to be a lot of flavors and
Yep.
stuff, and get away from the coffee flavor.
Yeah. It works
cream,
out being
sugar and flavoring. And then she'll be like, "Oh, you want to go get coffee?" I'm like, "I'll go get one for you, but I like what I got here."
Yeah.
So
It works out being less expensive as well too when you do it at your
Oh, yeah.
house. Even if you buy, like coffee can get really ridiculous. There are roasters out there that sell their coffee for like $30 or $35 a bag. I can't do that. But our bags retail for $15. We just came out with a Sumatran, which was a little bit more expensive bean, so that one is $18. But with that, the amount of cups that you get out of it compared to going and spending $5 or $6 on some mocha, frappa, whatever,
yeah.
it doesn't. The economics don't make sense to me, and I'm so concerned over how the cup taste comes out. Like I want control over that too, right? Like
Right.
I don't want someone else messing it up or.
And it's funny because you actually get to use the proper amount when you get the right flavoring. Like
Yeah.
for me, as a beginning coffee drinker, I just added more coffee. I
Yep.
didn't go to a darker roast or anything. That
Yeah.
kind of just lazy. But then you go through the coffee much faster as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I made a mess of your table over here too, by.
Oh, that's
by the way.
that small craft is it's got a small spout, so if you pour too fast, it makes a mess.
Yeah.
It-
I was excited, and then I.
That's
just
all
made a
right.
mess. Sorry about that.
it's all good.
All right, so here's something we haven't talked about yet. I
Yeah.
drink iced coffee every day.
Yeah.
What is that something you dabble in? What's anything different in making an iced coffee versus Talk to me about that.
So yours isn't cold brew; it's just coffee.
Iced
It's
coffee.
ice, and it's usually black, right? Because I've
Yeah.
seen you walk around. with
So
it.
But I can make coffee at home, and it's not the same as an iced coffee. I don't know what the difference is.
So do you make the pot
No,
and
I
then
buy it.
immediately? Oh, okay. Yeah,
I don't make iced coffee.
yeah. So like, so iced coffee it technically is brewed coffee that you allow to go cold or put ice in, whereas cold brew is coffee brewed with cold and or room temperature water. So like I said, like when you add heat, you add that potential element of adding a burned or cooked flavor to it. When using cold or room temperature water, that doesn't happen. You just naturally extract the oils from it.
And then you heat it up afterwards, or you drink it room temperature.
You drink it room or cold. What I do is typically I'll cold brew at room temperature, and then I'll put it in the fridge, and it'll stay, if it's covered, it'll stay good for 48, hours, 72 hours, something like that. It doesn't last that long typically because it gets consumed. But you can make concentrate, which is really cool. I think my wife sent a message there. If you leave it for like 24 hours, you always tell me what to do. I'm the employee, right? If you leave it for 24 hours or longer, it gets to the point where you've extracted so much, you can then dilute that concentrate at like a 1-to-1 ratio with water, which is really good.
Right.
So now, like talking about economics of the coffee, and it's cheaper to do it at home, I'll make cold brew. I get absolutely everything out of that coffee. And now I have a concentrate that I can dilute. So now the cost of the coffee at my house is even cheaper. And it's still way better than going anywhere.
And I will say, I have had, when I do cold brew, sometimes I'll have it cold, but also sometimes for that concentrate, I'll add boiling water to it.
Yeah.
And I'll have a hot cold brew,
Yep.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like unheard of around here. There was one place that was able to steam it for me. And I was like,
It's
awesome,
like
finally. And because everybody thinks cold brew is just always an iced coffee.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be.
Yep.
And I've done the hot water. But I think what Shane was kind of getting at was what's the best. So, like, should he brew a pot of coffee, put it in the fridge, and wait, and then go? Or to me, when you put hot coffee over ice, it waters it right down.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would, depending on how you're making it, I would brew it and then immediately take it off the heat and let it come to room temp and then put it in the fridge.
Okay.
I want to save your fridge too. You don't want to put a hot cup of
Absolutely.
coffee in
Yeah.
there. Like now it's working real hard, but yeah, because once coffee is brewed, just like other drinks like that, if you leave it on the heat, it's going to start changing the flavor and the profile on it. And then you get the classic, like corporate America office coffee container with like the 4 inches of brown crusty
Sludge.
coffee on the bottom that's like melted.
So
we don't want that.
The warm feature on the coffee pot is like your arch enemy.
Yeah. Because you know what it really is, especially if you make it more than one pot, because most coffee, like drip brewers, that warm feature will come on before the coffee actually hits the glass. So now you have super hot glass, the coffee hits, and it instantly burns on the bottom. So like most people who have a brewer at home don't even know that. If you didn't have that warmer on, your coffee will taste better because those first couple droplets are not evaporating and burning on the bottom of the pot.
Huh, very interesting.
Again, another layer of nerdiness. to this
Yeah,
coffee.
no, it's great.
So
Stuff I don't know.
coming back to the concentrate, Jason actually said he lets his cold brew sit for a week
Oh, there you go.
and then makes like coffee syrup. Is
Oh,
what he
yeah.
said.
Oh, okay.
Which close to Rhode Island has a coffee syrup. So that's pretty interesting. That'll save you a quick buck for sure.
Yeah. Is that Mr. Jason Verno?
It is.
He's a nice
okay.
guy. So we met him through the Northeast Connecticut Chamber of Commerce. He heard me on the radio station Winnie talking about the business, and he has a beautiful building in downtown Danielson, 157 Main Street. So he's actually my landlord, but he's a really nice guy. Hopefully he doesn't charge me more rent, but we met him through there, and he heard me on the radio, and he's like, hey, man, he talked to my wife, hey, woman, not man, I heard you guys on the radio. We have a building that we're opening, and we really want a coffee shop in there. What do you think? And so we talked about it. I'm like, yeah, that's like in our 3 to 5 year plan. And he's like, hey, how about 6 months or something like that? And I was like, all right, we'll figure it out. We're up for a challenge. So,
Jump right in.
That's
right?
where we are now. I think it's going to be a little longer than 6 months. Sorry, Jason. But it'll be better than it would be if we had gone at 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, since JV's listening, I want to try that syrup.
Yeah.
So next meeting that we're at, I want to have some of that syrup.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds good.
Funny.
So again, I'm gonna keep harping on this cold brew stuff because
Do you wanna
it's
try
very
what's over
interesting.
here?
I do eventually,
Okay.
yeah. So you let that sit. That's what Jay's talking about.
Yep.
That cold brew. You let it sit in the water however long you want to.
Yep.
And then you can just pour it right out from. And is that behind you? Is that what it makes?
Yeah, yeah. So it makes that. The longer you let it steep, the more coffee will come through. And I just wanted to touch on that note when you talked about hot cold brew. There's a cool way to make those sort of drinks as well too. If you have an espresso or a steamer, you can actually take a cold drink and you can use the steam wand to aerate it. It's called like an aerachino because you're putting air into the coffee and it changes the flavor profile as well too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is that
and
a
it heats it
special
up for you.
machine? How does that work? Is that a special machine?
So like most espresso machines will have the portafilter, which is where you pull the shot.
Oh, okay.
And then they'll have a steam wand, which is where you do all the fancy milk stuff.
Mhm.
You can actually take that steam wand right into the cup of cold brew and inject water and air at the same time and like heat it up and put air into it and it kind of changes the flavor as well.
Wow.
Wow. So it's like aerating it almost.
Yeah, kind of.
So speaking of iced coffee, how do you feel about making ice cubes out of the coffee so it doesn't water down your cup?
I think that's a good idea. It's just way more work than I have time for as a full-time employee, father of two, husband to my employer, Brittany Clifford, or now Brittany Clark. So yeah, I think it's a great way to go though, like because you don't want to water it down.
Right.
Yeah. So that just helps people at home, like trying to get that experience
Yeah.
that you want and not have to go out for it every time.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I'm kind of weird when it comes to coffee drinks. I think I get it from my parents. You know, we always had tea in our house and it could be 105 degrees out in the summer. My dad would be like, "Oh man, I'd really go for a cup of tea." And he meant like a boiling hot cup of tea. So 365 I drink hot coffee.
Yeah, same here.
I can't really drink it any other way.
yeah. And then 365, this one drinks iced coffee.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I've heard
Absolutely.
hot drinks when it's hot out cool you down. I don't know how true that is, but
Yeah, I'm a coffeeologist, so I don't know about that, but it could be true. We'll save that one.
yeah,
So-
I drink by the mood. Like sometimes I'm in the mood for a cold drink. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm in the mood for a hot drink. It's
Yeah.
the way it is. So
So you said April 24th is your target date, or you have to be in it by then.
Yeah, April 2024. Not an exact like calendar day, but we'll be
Oh,
in there
24,
open.
okay.
We'll have a soft launch, invite people in to come like check it out, and then we'll be rocking and rolling.
So in the meantime, you said we had 20 people watching. How do they get your coffee?
Yeah, they can go to our website, twodogscoffeeco.com, or go on our Facebook or Instagram pages. We also have an Etsy, believe it or not, and we've been getting more orders through there. Like I think we had some from Louisiana and California and stuff like that.
yeah.
And then when our storefront is up, they'll be able to come in and buy lattes or drinks or like a whole bag of unground whole bean coffee if they want to.
I've had little to no experience with Etsy, but I'm told it's like kind of how you go national and you start getting those orders from all over. I've a couple of entrepreneurs in the area have gotten, a lot of luck with it. So
Yeah, it's like I said, I roast the coffee. I do the flavor profiling, but my wife honestly does absolutely everything else. I jokingly call myself an employee, but while I'm at work, she's taking care of the kids and running this business. So all of the pictures that you see on the logos for the coffee bags, all this sort of media stuff, she does all of that. She runs all of our social media accounts. She does all the networking. Nobody likes me. They all like her. So she's the one that connects us to all these markets and events and, fantastic people like Jason. So we're trying Etsy to see how it goes. I still get blown away. Like she's told me the other day, she's like, yeah, this one's going to like Tennessee, and then this one's going to Kentucky, and then this one's going to Nevada. And I'm like, it just
That's
feels,
awesome.
I don't feel like I'm cool enough for people from other states to be buying my stuff or our stuff, but it happens.
Maybe you're not cool enough. Maybe she's cool enough.
Yeah,
Your
she's
coffee's certainly cool
way
enough.
cooler.
you guys should put a map in your store and have stars with every state that you ship coffee to.
We were just talking about that. I want to do that too. I think it'd be really cool. I have a friend that lives in California. He's a fantastic dude, and he's really big into coffee. And I'm like, hey man, let me send you some bags. He's like, oh yeah, okay. And he's like, oh, this is really good. And he's like, I'm going to get my dad a bag. So he ordered some of the light roast. And his dad's like, yeah, can I get a bag of the light roast every 2 weeks, like to my house? And they live in California, in San Diego, and there's a massive coffee scene over there. So it feels pretty good for like someone having that availability to still be ordering from little old Gwillem here in Pomfret, Connecticut.
Yeah.
That brings up, do you do subscriptions
We
on
do.
your website? So
Yep.
you can sign up and
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, we do subscriptions, and we also, if you're lucky enough to live in the amazing Quiet Corner, 30 minutes from our house, we do local delivery for free.
Yeah, your wife delivered the cold brew
Yeah.
a couple days ahead so that I could make it for us. So
Yeah. Yeah, she does it all from 30 minutes from Pomfret. It's been going well so far. I think maybe we underestimated the number of subscriptions or local orders we'll be getting, so they keep going up. So now she's traveling more and more, so we may have to get her like a little mail van or something like that to drop the coffee off.
Nice.
we do have a question. Someone wanted an opinion on the use of a coffee frother.
Oh, okay. So the little aerator tool that goes inside of it, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that is those
Little-
little
yeah,
mixers.
Is
I
it
think
the
it's-
ones that spin?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think it's cool if you're using it to foam or froth milk. That's always cool to do. For the coffee itself, I don't know what it would do. Maybe aerate it a little bit. Sometimes with drinks you want to add air to kind of like change the flavor a bit. I don't do it personally, but yeah, tell me how it turns out. Feel free to reach
I wonder
out.
if it'd be similar to putting the wand directly in your cold brew.
Maybe, yeah. I think that would work too. The steam one adds water and heat as well to it,
okay.
which is kind of like the beneficial aspect of that.
Yeah, I have the frother, and when I add cream, that's typically how I mix it.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever noticed anything different about it from stirring it with a spoon. To me, it's like I can do the frother, rinse it, wipe it, and put it back, and I don't make another spoon to go in the dishwasher. And
Unless you have an espresso machine or a steam one and I'll show you this, or a French press like this.
yep.
The reason why they steam and froth milk, so with a French press, like believe it or not, you can put milk inside and you can foam it with this, and it comes out really, really good.
Oh wow.
So the reason why they do that for espresso-based drinks is to create separation in the cup to like change how you drink it, right? So if I pour milk straight in the coffee and mix it around, now it's a oh god, my brother will kill me, aqueous solution. Like it's uniform throughout, right? But if you do it with foam, you aerate the foam to allow it to sit on top of the coffee. So different types of espresso drinks are designed to have foam or steamed milk, incorporated, not incorporated. All those change the elements. Most times when you go to something Bucks and you grab a drink, it's all washed up and mixed in together, so you don't really get that experience. But traditional cups are supposed to create that separation. So like a mocha will have chocolate, espresso, and then the foam on top. So you kind of like sip through each layer of those and it mixes.
So are you so like macchiatos, right?
Yeah.
Pour on top.
Yep.
What is a macchiato? I'm sorry.
So the shot the milk goes in first, and then
Yep.
you mark the cup. Macchiato, mark the cup in Italian.
Yeah.
And so you pour the shot on top.
Yeah.
But then the minute it's given to the customer, everybody just shakes
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. They'll
So
mix a little bit.
what is the right way to drink? I mean, I know if it's hot, right, you probably don't shake it. You would just sip it, and you would get different flavor palettes, right? But if you do it iced and
Yeah.
you have a straw,
Yep.
or I guess now they're putting lids on without straws, so it's probably similar to having the layers like your mocha, right?
Yeah, I think the best way to drink a cup of coffee is however best it tastes to you. So those are the traditional ways to make it, but like I always tell people, I don't cringe if someone puts milk in their, espresso shot. Sometimes I'll do like a little drop of milk in it. It just sweetens it up, or sugar. However you want to drink it to get, I guess, best flavor is like what I encourage. Some people get really like, you can only drink it this way and you
Right.
only make espresso like this. And I think that just limits your experience with the coffee, right?
Right.
Plus, you're probably not going to get a repeat customer if you're telling them how to drink.
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Which is interesting, and it's like a thing that we've been learning and working through is that, I didn't grind beans when we went to our first couple events. I just only had whole beans because I'm like, grinding coffee before you drink it is sacrilegious. I will not do it. We're not going to do it. We go to the event. Half the people were like, "Oh, I don't have a grinder." And I'm like, I'm dumb. This isn't for me. This is for somebody else. So, treat others the way you want to be treated. No, treat others the way they want to be treated, right? What they want. So
now, somebody like me, if I had pre-ground coffee, would I taste the difference? Somebody who doesn't really know other than just buy my iced coffee.
So if you had, are you saying if you had whole bean?
Well, you were just saying you don't grind coffee until you drink it.
Yeah, 100% you'll taste a difference.
Even somebody like me.
It's definitely different.
Someone like you, I think you're a great guy.
Well, I don't have the experience. There's a lot of, you brought up wine or beer.
Yeah.
The
palate.
People, I could drink a beer and be like, oh, okay, that thing's 3 weeks old. It's going. And somebody else is like, no, it tastes good to me. So, is it that much of a difference that anybody can say, okay, these are pre-ground, they were ground a week ago or whatever? Like, is there that much of a difference?
Yeah, I think so, especially with light roast. Because when you grind it, it starts releasing all of the different, I think the term is flavonoids, all the different flavor compounds with inside of the coffee. And so what will end up happening is, like if you have a crusty old coffee bean that's a year old, right? And you grind it, it'll taste like coffee. But all of those flavor elements that you get from unique origins and roast profiles will already have gone by that time because they only kind of stay in the bean for so long.
Makes sense.
Just like I could compare it to like
stale almost.
Yeah, stale. Like if you make a soup or a stew and you eat it when it's cooked, it tastes one way. If you put it in the fridge and you heat it up 3 days later, it's all uniformly mixed and it just tastes like goop, basically, right? Sure. So
just
don't offend the roaster and pre-grind the coffee months ahead of time and not drink it. But yeah, like it's convenient as well too. Like I know everybody's busy and some people don't have a grinder.
Right.
That's why we started grinding coffee, and we take the loss if no one buys that coffee. So if we grind coffee and put it in a bag and no one buys it, which typically doesn't happen, we'll throw it away because it only lasts so long at the level of freshness that we want to deliver when you buy it the first time.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
Which is like a whole game of balancing how much we roast before events and that sort of stuff.
So it's a logistical nightmare,
yeah.
Especially with someone with a finance background watching the pennies.
Don't worry, Brittany and I have endless discussions on this on a regular basis, how much coffee we should have on hand, roasted versus in green bean. Green bean, as long as we manage the moisture content and like temperature, it'll stay good for a year, 2 years. Most lots that you buy are going to be 6 months to a year old anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you think if it's in Africa and then some guys got to pick it, and then it's got to ferment or be washed and then packaged and then shipped over to distributor. It's about 6 months to a year old, but it's still good.
So if you grind, grind beans and package them to ship, do you grind them? Is it made to order, or are you guys, you keep a small stock on hand and then go from there?
99% of the time, it's made to order.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so if we ship out something tomorrow, it'll have been ground today, maybe at the earliest. Rarely do we bring coffee back from an event. Typically, most of the markets we go to, we sell out or sell mostly, and then we'll have orders through the week that take out from that coffee. We'll purposely use the coffee that we've already roasted and ground to support those subscription orders that we're just getting. If we have an event coming up, I'll roast new coffee for that event to keep it fresh.
Wow.
Gotcha. So a pre-ground bag of coffee, how long, like breaking the seal, how long do you have until like you would throw it away?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
Yeah, if I keep it sealed, don't put it in the freezer. Everyone thinks that's the thing to do.
Yeah, a lot of people put it in the fridge or the freezer.
What ends up happening is you're now changing the temperature of the coffee, and you're building condensation and it's going away, and building condensation it's going away, and that's how you get mold.
Just leave it
in the dark, in the
dark.
bag.
Right.
Our bags have a liner in them, so you can just keep them just like in this. As long as it's not sitting in the sun, it'll be fine. If you put it in another container like whole beans, you don't want it to be clear, like at least opaque. It'd be better if it was like black, no light can get through, because that'll affect the coffee as well.
Okay, I guess I have to invest in dark mason jars.
Yeah, or just put it in a cupboard.
Put mine
like
in a mason jar.
Yeah,
and then I'll even put the label on it, so like I know.
Yep. The biggest thing is minimize the amount of oxygen that gets to the coffee, because then it oxidizes. So if you look in these bags back here, I'm trying to smash the camera. they have a degassing valve.
Oh,
After I roast the coffee, typically it ages in a bucket like for a day with a degassing valve built into it, and then we bag it in here, and it'll continue to off gas for the life of the coffee, but mostly like 90% is done in the first couple days.
wow.
And so now, because there's a one-way valve, gas goes out, no oxygen is left inside the bag for the most part. Gareth, don't yell at me. And then what happens is every time you open the bag, you're introducing oxygen and then closing it, and then introducing oxygen and closing it. So if you want to have peak flavor, get a bag, open it, pour in the predetermined amount, say for that morning's worth of coffee, or 2 days worth of coffee in your secondary container, close this back up, and then use everything in that container. Then this is getting least amount of exposure, and it'll stay fresher longer.
Huh.
But
Oh,
espresso again is a whole nother game, because to maintain that crema, you have to have really fresh coffee. And so that stuff, like at a cafe, there'll be, if they don't use the beans, which typically doesn't happen, they'll throw their beans out at like a week to 2 weeks, because it'll be too much work changing the grinding settings to get the right amount of crema. A good shop will do that.
So how long will, we have a question, how
Yeah.
long will a unground bag of your coffee last unopened?
Okay. This is a dangerous question.
Well,
It will still be good drinkable coffee, I would say, for 6 months, as long as it doesn't go through a lot of temperature changes. It will be peak flavor 2 to 4 weeks in the bag.
Gotcha. Okay.
Brittany's on top of it. Your wife, she answered the question.
Okay, good. Hey, I can do this, babe. I'm an
You're
adult.
doing great.
I'm
You're
a
doing
man.
great.
I don't think she has a lot of confidence in you.
Come on.
All right, what else are we trying here?
Yeah.
I think you should guys should try the cold brew. Do you want to try the cold brew?
I'm excited
If it's
about
terrible,
trying
he
that.
made it too. So like,
All right, so you can blame him. So that kit, you can just purchase a kit online for the cold brew.
Yeah. So your shop will obviously stay open, and then at some point you'll have a shop on Main Street, but the main source will probably always be their online store. So,
All right.
and subscriptions, man, that's
Oh, that's
awesome
fine.
to have that residual orders coming in.
Yeah.
To get that going is great.
Thank you.
As far as small
it-
business goes,
I think it
have
helps,
somebody
too.
paying you every month for your product.
Yeah, I think-
automatic. That's awesome.
Right. Having a shipping piece as part of your business where you're not susceptible to local variables, right?
Right.
You can ship
Yeah.
across the country, make a big difference.
yeah, and we, my wife and I work really hard at pricing everything appropriately so that people don't have to pay, exorbitant amounts for shipping. We use Pirate Ship and a couple other companies. I think shipping even to the West Coast is like $6 or $7. So I can't do free all the time because it would gobble up our margins too much on a $15 bag of coffee.
Right.
So we feel like that's reasonable, and like with the quality of our coffee, we have 100% satisfaction guarantee. I tell people that at the markets. I just straight up say, if you buy the bag and you don't like it, no questions, I'll just buy it back, because I want you to have I want you to have really high quality coffee and a good experience with us. And we've probably sold 5,000 or 6,000 bags of coffee, and no one's asked for one back yet.
Wow.
So if somebody
If
did-
you have a bad bag out there, I will give you a fresh one or pay for the bag that you have.
So if somebody comes back, well, then you not educate them, but be like, oh, let me make you a fresh bag. Let me like just teach them more about coffee and about maybe it was something that they did brewing it, right? I mean, we've all learned quite a bit
I mean,
how to brew it this
I
morning.
think
Shane's been doing
what
it wrong for years.
I think I would
Do
give,
everything wrong.
I think I would give them the benefit of the doubt and just, you either want more coffee or your money back. I'm happy with either of those. I would just ask, give me another chance, to make sure I'm getting you the right
Yeah.
stuff.
Of course.
Third time, I would just, no, I would still help them.
So
No,
how
that's
long?
great
How long
customer
has this been? Is it steeping when it's coffee too? Or
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long has this been steeping? You made this, right?
6 o'clock yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Was when
6
the
o'clock
tea
yesterday.
bag went in the 4 cups of water.
So a little over 24 hours.
So no sugar or anything in this, and you should be able to taste a lot of
Great.
sweetness in
Yeah,
it.
Yep.
it's great.
I like it a lot.
You can get do the air, right?
Oh, yeah.
because it changes where the coffee like hits on your tongue and you get different flavors from it. But yeah, this with a splash of cream or it's ridiculously good.
Sorry for those listening to us slurp.
Yeah, we're slurping.
But you should definitely go out
This
and
is
get
really good.
a good
Yeah.
cup of coffee.
And
from
it's
that.
super easy too. So I don't know if people on the camera can see, but like you just have the bag in here, and when you're done, if you want to show them,
Yeah.
just take it and chuck it in the trash. No waste, no mess.
You can
And I'm
actually,
pretty sure that's biodegradable bag.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's biodegradable, so you can actually stick it in your compost if you have a compost. So
Grounds for gardens.
yeah,
There we go.
we always.
Are you
do
guys
that.
going to keep your grounds once you open up and offer them to the public for the gardens, or are you guys just going to dispose of them?
If that's an option, I would
Oh, yeah.
100%
Yeah.
be open for that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know there's carbon in it, right? And carbon's good for soil
Yeah.
as well too.
So I've
yeah.
seen other coffee companies. I don't know how you guys get your beans from overseas, but they'll come in a large silver bag or whatever.
Yep.
And they just keep those bags and they just put all the grounds back in and slap a sticker on it and then just put it out front and people take as needed.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yes.
If anyone has done that or picked it up, shoot me how that goes, and I'm happy to do that as well too.
Yeah, we have local gardens,
Yeah.
all
Nice.
kinds of people growing flowers, plants, whatever. That I put all my grounds in our garden.
You can say that you're putting like soil in your garden from Africa and Indonesia,
Right.
Colombia.
I mean, we
Brazil, right?
I do that at home. My wife grows flowers, and so we have a composter right on the counter. And I'll put the grounds right in it, and then we'll just sprinkle them in the gardens with the flowers.
Yeah, I'd 100% be down to do that. Yeah.
It is one of my children's chores to bring out the compost, and man, do they grumble about it, especially in February and January.
So do you notice a difference between the cold brew and the brewed coffee?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
Do you notice
It's,
a difference between
this
that
mouth-
cup and the normal iced coffee that
Oh
you
yeah,
drink?
yeah, definitely. And this is the mouthfeel is different.
Yeah.
I haven't grasped what it is yet. That I'm.
The acid, I feel like that's what's always like
Yeah, you
either
can,
it's there or it's not, and
there's
it's so
like,
defined to me.
Yeah, it's almost like thicker because there's more.
You get some of
filament.
the fines. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it changes the way it tastes for sure.
Yeah, and this is full on. So some people add water to this, to not to
Right.
dilute it down.
Yeah. This is fully leaded right
Yeah,
here.
yeah, and I'm
it's really
definitely
good.
gonna try the idea of letting it steep for a week, and I may do it in the toddy,
Yeah.
and grind it a little. You said grinding it coarse, so my grinder's set all the way on the highest coarse that it can be, and
Yeah.
because the water is touching more surface area of the bean, that makes it.
Yeah, part of it is the surface area. The other part is when you grind it finer, you'll get what are called literally fines, which is almost like a powdery dust, and those will be suspended in the coffee more than you want them to be, and that'll change the way it tastes as well too. Because like if you take a coffee bean itself and like eat it, there is bitterness to the bean, as opposed to just extracting the flavors out. So when it's really fine, you're getting those little particulates in your mouth, and it'll change the cup, make it a bit more bitter. So I try and avoid that by making sure the cold brew is ground pretty coarse, then we don't get those.
I do like bitterness in my coffee. though,
Okay, there you
so
go.
That
Yeah.
first,
Cool.
the first cup we had, the light roast, there was some bitterness in that I liked.
Yeah.
So
This is great. I could drink this every day.
those
This is amazing.
espresso, chocolate covered espresso beans. So how do you roast?
you want some?
Sure.
There
thank
we
you.
go.
How do you roast them? So is this a light roast that you then?
Nope. This is our 9-bark espresso that we sell to people for espresso, covered in dark chocolate. No, get the crunch in there so people can hear it, right?
Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, we don't normally eat on the air.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Nice.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's
Sorry, everybody listening.
Sorry, not sorry. Is
That's
that
really
one of
good.
those things?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
So there's a milk chocolate version and a dark chocolate version. We tried the milk chocolate, wicked good,
Yeah.
but I feel it takes away from the whole purpose is to have some of that coffee in there because it was so sweet and so
Yeah.
milky, kind of drowned it out. With the dark chocolate, you're getting a bit of the sweetness, but still getting all that coffee flavor.
More cacao and less
Yeah.
sugar.
Shout out to Loon Chocolate. These are some friends of ours from up in New Hampshire. They're collaborating with us on that. That's a new commercial account of us. We're sending them 30, 60, 90 pounds of espresso beans on a regular basis.
Are they near Loon Mountain?
I'm not sure. They just have a gorgeous Loon logo on their car.
Yeah, they do.
They also own. They do some like sauces and syrups and jellies and jams and stuff as well too. They're really awesome.
Are you guys going to carry some of that stuff down here?
I would like to. I'd freaking love jelly and jam.
Oh, coming
Coffee,
from the UK?
toast, with jam. Yeah, man.
Once they get the pastries going,
Oh,
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they're really
And
great
then,
people. We met again, another person we met in a market, and we're just chatting with them, and we said, hey, like we have coffee, you got chocolate, and they're cool too. So this is something that I learned: a chocolatier buys chocolate and makes things. A chocolate maker goes straight from the
Like scratch.
cocoa
Yeah.
and
Pure cacao.
smashes it and makes it into chocolate. So we're like totally aligned, right? I'm buying the beans and making coffee. They're buying the beans and making chocolate. So this is a match made in Loon.
Yeah, that is great, and I love it. It's GMO free, ethically sourced,
Yep.
manufactured. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they asked us about that as well too.
See that back?
So our most of our coffee will be organic. It's all fair trade, right? So we make sure that the farmers get a good buck for the coffee that we buy from them. The other thing is too is some of our coffee will fall under organic like. And so what I mean by that is that we buy some really small lots for our light roast specifically that like literally 4 or 5 roasters have access to, like in the world, because these lots are so small. So they can't afford an organic license. The USDA organic license is actually pretty expensive. So we ask either our supplier or the farmer directly, like, what are your agricultural practices?
Yep.
Do you cover it in like Roundup and herbicides and pesticides? And we ensure that they don't. That's why we don't put organic on our bags, because people have asked. I don't want to false advertise, but man, they fall under every single category that classifies them as organic. But some of these farms are real small, and
Yeah, it's-
where their income levels are drastically different than ours, for them to spend $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 on an organic license, they can't do it.
Right,
So
right. Take a picture of that and put it in the comments for me, would you?
yeah, those are really yummy too.
Yeah.
A little dangerous
little
though,
snack.
because the quantity of coffee that you have in this bag is like 4 or 5 cups. So if you were to smash that sitting in front of the TV, it'd be like pepped up, ready to go. I haven't
Wouldn't be
tested.
sitting
I don't know
long.
how much caffeine comes out from coating it on chocolate, but I can't imagine much.
Well, they're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
'cause
that's. Oh, did you take a picture?
I did, yeah.
chocolate has a
Absolutely.
certain amount of caffeine in it as
I
well, right?
think so too. Yeah.
There's been a debate through my life, because I've hung out with paramedics, and they said, I don't want to do caffeine, so they just get a hot chocolate, and then
Yeah.
they're up even later.
Yeah.
They said that the hot, whether it's the sugar or the caffeine, it's worse than a cup of coffee, is what a lot of them have said.
One of my favorite drinks is like a 50-50 hot chocolate to coffee. Is freaking amazing if you've
Haven't
never
done
had
that.
it before. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, I'm a chocolate lover myself.
So
have to try it.
I'll get you some. We got some of their hot chocolate. So they use Dutch hot chocolate, and they premix salt and sugar in it, and it's ridiculous. So that 50-50 with coffee is like
All right.
next
I
level.
have a bunch of things I have to try now.
Yeah.
Just for the audience, loonchocolate.com. And it says Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So these are really good. And then again, twodogscoffeeco.com.
Yeah, and you can order from our website or their website. We support them; they support us. They're really awesome people too.
Nice. I had something. It just lost
You
my
need
train of
another
thought.
sip to get that
Yeah,
caffeine to
hold on.
remember it, right?
It's still not coming. Anyway,
It was probably
do we want to?
unimportant.
Is it a dark Sumatra? Now, I never realized that. Whenever I saw Sumatra, I didn't realize that was dark coffee. I just thought that was some other type of flavoring. I never.
So you can
realized
do it as
that.
dark. This one over here is the Durning's dark. This is a dark roast Colombian. This is super traditional. This is what like all coffee kind of came from, is this type of flavor profile. I also brought, this one's our newest one. That's the Indonesian. So Indonesia, Sumatra is part of Indonesia, like a region within there. And this one, the cool thing about these beans is that they handle temperature much better than most coffee. So you can take them way darker and still retain a lot of flavor. So definitely way different than a Colombian, but really, really good. And I take those ones pretty dark, past 450 in terms of temperature.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a brown sugar pipe tobacco citrus. I will be buying this bag.
You can have
from
that
you
bag.
before
Yeah, you can.
you leave today. This is that I'm trying that for
Yeah,
sure.
really good.
I'm gonna cold brew that, I think.
And like I was telling you before, I know it'd be hard for the people to see, but like this is the Sumatran beans, so you can see the color on those.
Yeah.
And then this is
I can't believe how green these beans are. That's
So do they-
wild.
Are they grown longer, or it's truly a different species?
Yeah, it's a different varietal, is what they call it. There's two types of coffee, technically. There's Arabica and Robusta. Then from Arabica, kind of like when you think of like where you have like a wolf and then you have coyotes and dogs and all that sort of stuff. From Arabica, you then have a ton of varietals depending on where all of it was grown.
Yeah.
And those impart different flavors. The Ethiopian ones always have a lot of fruit and citrus note. Colombian coffees are known for their like heavy body and chocolate, semi-chocolate. Brazilian have a very nutty, earthy flavor to them. Sumatran, that pipe tobacco, that a little bit of smoke on the darker level, but not overwhelming, is what they're known for. And you can roast them much darker and they retain a lot of flavor. So that's our first Sumatran. So I went through like, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, 12 different profiles to kind of figure out what I wanted. And then we sling bags with just, to my friends, I'm like, yeah, give me some feedback. Tell me what you think. So our friends, the Simmons, Telep Malagas, they have, I don't know, a pile of our bags at their house. And they're like, do we need to pay for these? I'm like, no, just I need your feedback. Just tell me
Yeah.
what you think.
How do we get part of that program?
Exclusive club.
Oh, yeah.
We'll send you guys.
You have to start keeping a coffee diary
Yeah.
basically for
Yeah.
this.
I mean, yeah, you want feedback from people that are right, other than yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just other people that are tasting the coffee.
When we have the garage space done, I'll invite you guys over. You don't have to be on air or anything, but I'll invite you over when I roast, and you can kind of follow through that process. Because one of the tools that you use is called a trier, like really inventive name, right? It's a little handle with a cup on it that goes into the drum and allows you to catch beans and pull them out in the roast stages. And so you can smell and look at the color and changes in the bean. Because the coffee will go from the green, then it starts yellowing, it smells like straw or hay, then it starts smelling like baked bread, then it smells like toast.
Wow.
Then it like keeps changing its flavor and profile, and you pull the trier out to kind of measure that. That's why I consider coffee, it's like a little bit of science, a little bit of magic, a little bit of luck when you're roasting it, because all of those variables can impact what comes out on the other end. I'm pretty meticulous with my notes. I'm really nerdy. I have a couple notebooks. I use software sometimes to like trace the flavor profile and the rate of return on the temperatures and stuff. But yeah, I'll have you guys over. You can come check it out. It's
Yeah,
cool.
that's really neat.
So is that
Just
that's
bring some
how
of that whiskey or something like that as well.
Do that.
All right, cool.
So is that how you? That's your judgment to know. Okay, I've hit the point for my light roast, my dark roast. Is just taking it out and smelling it.
I would consider myself like, I guess I'm a professional in that it's a business.
For sure.
I have, 5,000-6,000 bags worth of roasting under me. I use a lot of those visual indicators when I'm developing a profile, but then I'm literally recording ambient temperature, air volume, drop temp, charge temp, all the different changes and logging it. And I build out such a complete profile that I just follow my times and temps and air, and it basically comes out the same every single time.
Yeah, you boil it down to the numbers.
Yeah.
That's-
Yep.
yeah.
And whenever we have that coffee, I'm pretty confident that every roast, especially for the Franks, I don't even have to look at the book anymore because I roasted so much that I don't have to blend, but I blend the coffee anyway after roasting, multiple roasts, just to make sure it's a uniform profile in everything that we send out.
So, because you take notes and you're meticulous,
Mhm.
is consistency easier for you versus somebody else who just kind of does it whatever?
Winging it.
No. Well, I brew beer, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing with
Yeah.
with consistency, with water temps, with everything. If I can make a recipe and somebody else can make the recipe, and without consistency, it can be two completely different beers.
Yeah, I think it's super important, and that's why I focus on that. I go back and forth. It's really popular now to use software, a laptop with software on it, and it works. I feel like there's a lag, even no matter how good the software is. So I go by my logbooks, and I'm constantly looking at the time of the roast, the temp, the outlet temp, the air pressure, all that sort of stuff, and adjusting it like as I'm sitting there doing the roasting.
Okay.
So yeah, it would come out different if two people did it differently and didn't
Right.
pay attention to that.
I just got to say, you have an amazing education on this. It's like, and you just started.
Oh man, I feel like I'm an amateur, so I really appreciate that.
It's all self-taught, right? Just
Yeah.
That's
trial and error.
incredible.
Everything through trial and error. So my full-time job is project management. I don't know, let's say 25%, 75% continuous improvement. And this is really like, people are typically in this are what are called industrial engineers. They like time a process and take the times down and try and make it better. My background is, like I said, sales and then business and finance, and I fell into this continuous improvement world. But man, the tools that I've learned through that apply so much to all this sort of stuff. Just iteration and learn, and like, understanding all the waste variables in something that you're doing so you can figure out how to make it better or more efficient. And I'm also a collector of hobbies. It's a really bad habit. So my brother and I, same, I don't know if it's ADHD or just like a Clark thing. We're like, oh, that looks cool. Let's learn how to do it. So whether it's like shooting sports or fishing or dirt bikes or, anything, like we were blacksmith for a while. We were a bunch of weirdos. And then I got into coffee. And I think the thing with coffee, like I've said it a bunch of times, is there's so many variables and so much to learn. Some guy said like it's 10,000 hours to become a master. I'm like, baloney when it comes to coffee, because that would just be one aspect. If I spent 10,000 hours on roasting or 10,000 hours on, espresso or drip brew or pour over or, adding different flavors and stuff, like I still think there's so much to master, and that keeps my ADHD mind going like, yes, there's something else to learn.
Yeah, I almost don't even think it's ADHD, because it's like
I'm self-diagnosed. It's okay.
but there's certain people who have a like curiosity itch, and I definitely feel like I have it. That's basically one of the driving factors of this. Is like, to me, this community workbench podcast comes from the idea of people watching. I'm just like always wanting to add. It's like a curiosity, like what makes you tick? Why are you why would you take the risk of going into business for yourself? You know what I mean? And you're right, it's like it's endless amounts of time that you can dive into, and it really kind of like hits that satisfaction level for your curiosity, where you don't have to go, okay, now I'm going to do this hobby, that hobby.
Yeah, it's checking enough boxes. And I was thinking about this while I was driving over here, like, because I wanted to sound intelligent, but what is it about coffee that really gets me into it? And I think it's kind of a combination. It's funny enough, it's my dad's birthday today. He passed back in 2010, but I think it's a combination of my parents and my grandfather. My grandfather was a Polish immigrant to the UK. He was an engineer. He worked on bombers during World War II. Wow. So he was a tinkerer. And so typically what they would use is like tuning gauges for pressures and like RPMs and stuff. He tuned harmonically, and his bombers were the like most efficient planes in his group, in the Air Force. And so he was a tinkerer. My father was really scientific, background in biology, worked in chemistry sales, but like amazing personality. And my mom, really humble lady, incredibly smart. And her food was ridiculous, and everyone craps on English cooking, like it's like really bland, right? But man, like she was a master of roasts, like any sort of chicken or Cornish game hens or roast potatoes and stews and pies and pots. Those sort of things are always amazing. So I'm like, okay, so why do I like coffee? Well, I like to tinker, right? I like to change things. My dirt bike buddies hate me for it. I like the scientific approach of like capturing all the data and repeatability. A lot of that I learned, like through my father and the way he approached things. And then my mom just had some magic with cooking. And thankfully, a couple years before she passed, when it was just me and her, I came back to live with her and take care of her at home. I was like, Mom, like, you can't cook me every dinner at night. I'm like 25. Like, I got to learn too. So she taught me how to cook. And I think I take those three aspects, tinkering, scientific approach, and love for cooking and making things, and apply it towards coffee. So I was like prepping that for this call, because I was saying, I'm like, man, I got to tell them why I like coffee so much. And I don't know if I've ever sat down and thought about it, but yeah, I guess it's in my blood in some sort of way.
That's awesome.
That makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah.
definitely comes out in your product for sure.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I really
Passion.
appreciate that too. And like, that's something I always tell people at the markets, and we get return customers. I'm like, yeah, please give me feedback. You know, like, tell me if it's bad. Tell me what you liked about it. That's how I learn. It's like my continuous improvement mindset is like, give me the feedback so I can learn. And I think we're doing good. I think it's a quality product. I still get surprised when people come up to me and they're like, oh man, this is the best coffee I've ever had. And inside I'm like, is it? Like, I just feel like an average dude. Like, I'm trying
Yeah,
really
little-
hard, but like,
A little imposter syndrome.
yeah,
there.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
I get that.
I perused your website a little bit, but is there a spot people can leave reviews for you guys that other customers can see and view?
Yeah, so we have scrolling at the bottom of our webpage is our customer reviews. But
Okay.
feel free to drop on our Facebook or Instagram, comment on a photo, leave something on there. Or even if you don't want it to be publicly displayed, my wife runs all the social media accounts. Just send us a message. Even if it's, like you don't like it, I want to know that so I can make it better or get you a better bag.
Right.
But if you do like it, like imposter syndrome, yeah, it'd be nice to have a pat on the back too. For both of us, because I do all the roasting and stuff like that, but my wife's out there sometimes, more often she probably would want to do packaging and bagging up coffee and then running and getting all those sales out. I haven't shipped a single thing, right? So if it arrived at your door, my wife is responsible for that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always great to have somebody.
Is she giving me comments and kudos for being
Which
nice to
one
her?
is? It looks like you have two. Which one is?
Yeah, so Two Dogs Coffee Shop is for our store that's opening up, and Two Dogs Coffee Co. is
Might
our...
help if I put my glasses.
There you go. Two Dogs Coffee Co. is our main page where we do where we started. So
Yeah. Are we ready for the dark
Yes,
blend over
I am.
there?
yeah, did you guys pound what you had?
I
Oh,
sure
yeah.
did.
It's been going for a while.
This is our last sample that we've prepared, and again, I don't know if the caffeine's getting to me or I am super excited. I think it's both. The other question I wanted to ask you, my wife and I, when we go camping a lot, and when we go camping, we don't bring creamer, we bring Bailey's for our coffee.
All right. You guys like to
You
party.
really want to let that out?
It is what it is.
Man, better start the day with some
it's-
Baileys and coffee.
It's vacation, and I break the 3:00 rule all the time.
Yeah, that's hard.
And because it's okay to stay up late when you're vacationing and whatnot, but it's not even a lot. It changes the flavor. I
Yeah.
like the flavor of Bailey's,
Yep.
and then you throw coffee on it. Do you have any? If you're using coffee as a mixer, any alcohols that you would, I don't know, would
Yeah,
accentuate
espresso
things
martinis.
better? Okay.
My wife is all about the espresso martinis. So we have a Rocket Apartamento. That's the machine that we have at our house. So we'll bang straight espresso shots and then mix them with, I think she uses vodka or something like that. But those are really good. And then we could just drop our beans like right on top. I'm a whiskey guy, so I like whiskey.
I see you eyeing it over here.
Yeah, so usually I have those separate. I don't know. I haven't done anything like that.
So
Yeah.
are
Nice.
you guys are gonna have the ability to serve espresso martinis at your cafe?
Oh,
So our focus, 100% our focus is coffee, pastries, toasties in a community space. I believe what we're shooting for hours is like 6 to 3,
right.
7 to 3.
Yep.
But because we'll have that space, we want to do some like after hours events. Use it for people if they want to use the space to like have some like appetizers, that sort of stuff, or someone like give them service there at the space. Possibly, we can look into it.
I mean, my wife and I have been known to go have an espresso martini at noon
Yeah.
in Putnam. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't think it's unrealistic to,
Yeah.
to
thank you
Day
for that,
drinking?
because I was starting to feel like, are we the only ones that drink
no.
before?
Nope.
Yeah,
I've been known to day drink once or twice.
It's a vacation thing for us.
Yeah. Me too. Only on vacation.
So not off the bat, but I don't think it's out of the cards. But one of the things for me is like the whole atmosphere of the space. We want the focus to be first on having like a good experience in the space, right? Not a transactional experience. Then we want to serve like really high level coffee for a good price, and then the pastries and stuff. But I think eventually we could get to the point where maybe in the space or Two Dogs Coffee Shop 2.0, that it expands a little bit more to that. That could be cool. I think it would be cool.
Your wife did say good job, senior manager. So
Ah,
I don't know
nice.
if that was a
You're promoted.
a promotion.
Nice. Sick. Chief roasting officer or something.
So this one,
Good one.
I like this one better than the second one we had, the middle one.
But they're all delicious, is what you're saying.
They're all delicious, and that's. But I think I like this one better. But I still think the light roast is probably my favorite,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
exception of that
Yeah.
cold brew.
The other
hot
thing
coffees.
is the French, again, the French press
It's a different
makes
experience,
such
yeah.
a big difference. Also, with the two brewers there, I don't use the big one very often, and I think my smaller one is like more seasoned. I don't know if that's a real thing, but
It could be.
I feel like there's a like because it's the same basket every
Yep.
time. I feel like you rinse it out, but it's still
Yeah.
got more of
Well, it gets
that.
darker, right?
Right.
Mine definitely has taken on coffee color.
Right, and I feel like the equipment that you use will like we use a lot of cast iron pans, and that's definitely takes on a seasoning.
Yeah.
So like a brand new pan versus one you've been using for years, like you can make the same thing in there, and it'll be totally different flavors.
Yep.
And I talked to chefs about this, and they say yes, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Even a pot, like a stainless steel pot, will take on a seasoning, and they actually say you just boil a little bit of water or oil in it to clean it and wipe it out, and they don't put it through the dishwasher. Don't.
No.
Soap is
I've
soap is
ever
bad.
sold mine.
Yeah, soap is bad when especially when it comes to impacting or imparting flavors on thing. I've seen people use soap in their coffee pots for the drip brewers. You don't want to do that. There's a couple products out there that are really inexpensive. Cafriza, I think, is the name, and it helps you take away any of that like surface film from the coffee in there. And allows you to have a clean pot. To be honest, I think seasoning is definitely a thing, but I think if you're brewing good coffee, starting with zero, like an empty container with no flavor on it at all, will allow you to experience whatever that roaster was designing when they made that profile. So if you use like Durning's Dark every time you brew in there, which you should use every time, no other coffee, just ours, then I think seasoning that way would be fantastic. But I drink so many different types of coffee. I like to start from zero and then really experience what's going on inside of that flavor profile that's developed.
So if we switch to whatever we're brewing to yours, should we like? I don't even know if
Smash it and get a new one.
Yeah, get
No.
a new one, or if descaling is like recommended, or if that's just like the coffee world selling us something. That
Yeah,
we
so
need to do.
I think it depends on the equipment, because I would never want someone to try and put soap through a coffee brewer like when you have these ones over here, because you'll never get it all out. That's why I harp so much on the French press, because it's glass and steel. You can run that stuff and clean it with the Cafriza. It'll take absolutely everything off. It's like a citrus-based cleaner, but it doesn't impart any soapy, chemically flavors on it.
And
that
vinegar is always good. to
Yeah,
use.
vinegar is really good too.
Vinegar's
That
a
is a
big
good one. You can use vinegar in those.
Right.
And
yeah,
you can
we've
actually
done
do
that
like
before.
a 50-50 vinegar to water, allow it to boil through a couple pots. That'll do a good job. But definitely you have a sacrificial brew after that, which you don't drink. You just let it brew and then pour it out, because it'll taste not as good as it should. But like if you're changing coffees a lot, I would always recommend either a French press, espresso machine if you have the opportunity to use it, or pour overs are really good as well too. Paper or not.
Is there any more of that last one left?
Yeah.
So, I don't know the terminology like you, but I almost get like a buttery mouthfeel
Yeah.
in this coffee,
Yep.
which is really, it's a very silky, very smooth. I like it a lot.
He has the stainless filter in there, so there's no paper. So any of the oils that are in the beans are coming directly through to your cup, and that's what'll make it taste, make it the mouthfeel smoother in your mouth, because you're literally
Absolutely.
getting oils from the coffee.
It's very, very good.
I think I'm honestly probably going to switch to French press and cold brew.
Yep.
And I don't know if I'll go back to a percolator. We'll see.
Yeah, what we typically do, because we're crazy with the kids getting up. I'm shooting out the door. I better say the right time, because my wife will correct me. 7 to 7:30 is typically when I get out the door. 7:30 mostly. So we use a drip brewer at our house. There's nothing wrong with those. When we have the time, we really love using the French press. We can change the amount of grounds that we have in it, make it stronger, weaker. Unfortunately, my espresso machine went down like 3 weeks ago. I just ordered a button. That is my favorite, even in the morning, because I can leave my machine on, rip the portafilter out, and bang out, a cortado or a latte in like 30 seconds or a minute or something like that. So, but it's only just for me, so it's a little
Yeah.
selfish, right?
I love espresso.
Yeah.
Just Doppio or
Yeah.
Had it.
triple. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Really
Yeah,
good.
I've never had it, but if I buy another piece of equipment for coffee, my wife's probably going to strangle me.
But what you have to tell her is like, hey, I'm buying this equipment, and I promise not to go out to a something bucks or a Dunkin', whatever they're called. And I'm saving a a lot of money
If you
making
don't
it.
do that,
Yeah, I
then
already
there's
do
no
that.
money to save.
I already got
Okay, so
that
start
argument
going-
in to
start
get what
going
we
out.
have.
Sounds
Yeah.
like Christmas is coming up. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a gift.
So, what is this called?
That's the Durning's Dark. So that's a dark roast Colombian.
Durings.
Durning's.
You want to throw a picture in the comments of that bag? Just
This like
I don't know what's going on with the pictures. They're not showing
I
up.
really like this.
I'll
a
post
lot.
them.
The
I'll
more
post
I
the
drink
pictures
it,
after.
Yeah.
the more
I'd go a
I
bit.
like this
I'd
one
go
better.
a bit stronger too. You could go a bit stronger, like more grounds to water in this, and it would bring out more flavor as well.
Right, it's good.
nice.
See, I like the I have the pour over. I have the French press. The French press I think is the best, but I like it as a treat and not
You don't like cleaning it up, right?
not an effort. Well, I mean, this may be a cardinal sin, but I use the timer on. I pour the coffee in the night before, and
It's all right. I don't hate
so
it.
that when I get up, and the dog needs to go out, I can just pour a cup of coffee, and I don't have to wait 10 minutes.
Well, I would say too, the equipment is not as important as like how you brew it and how you pay attention to it. But if there is a single piece of equipment that's the most important, more than anything else, spend all your money on is the grinder for sure.
Okay.
Most people will use like really simple $20 or $40 grinder. It'll get the job done. But when you increase the price and quality of the equipment that you're getting, you have so much more control over the grind settings, how fine or how coarse it is, and then the repeatability and consistency. That goes back to like, meticulous notes when roasting. When you're brewing the coffee, I was actually just talking to a lady that's buying her espresso, dialing her espresso machine in. You want to eliminate the variables. So like use the same amount of grounds, use the same amount of water. If you don't like the flavor, you want it more bitter or more sour or more balanced, you change the grind setting itself, how fine or coarse it is, and that'll completely change the cup. Especially when you get to espresso, you have to control those variables to get the same output every single time or improve that cup.
You want to pull out the portable grinder you had to show?
Oh, yeah,
everybody? That thing's great.
I think it's in this box.
Oh yeah.
Just to show everybody, there are gift packaging for anyone who wants to buy coffee for your coffee lover on your Christmas gift list. It's really awesome packaging.
Yeah, again, not me at all.
Yeah.
All my wife.
Thank you, Brittany.
That actually comes with 3 sample packets of a light, medium, dark roast, the coffee we tried today.
Yeah.
And it comes with a coffee sugar scrub. I've used it, embarrassingly. It's actually really good. And so the caffeine is really good for your skin as well, too. So it's coffee sugar scrub to use in the shower.
Oh, no kidding.
I did not know that.
Yep.
That's cool.
That is awesome.
And it smells like.
Can you put it in the
Yeah.
coffee? Because that's what I was thinking. It was the sugar for the
Don't
coffee.
do that. Don't do that. But it's really good.
I wish we still had that button on this thing. That is an idiot.
And then for the people that like coffee but can't drink it, which does happen, caffeine, stuff like that, people with high anxiety or like heart stuff, we have a coffee scented candle. This is Steven's Farmhouse in New Hampshire. It's our coffee inside the candle, so we're not just buying a coffee candle pretending like these are my coffee beans, like I roasted those. And the same thing with this exfoliating scrub as well too. That's our coffee grounds inside of that.
So I
That's
assume
awesome.
you
Yeah.
have a larger grinder at home, or is that the one you use at home?
No,
and on
so
the road?
I want to upgrade my grinder. Like I said, we're self-funded, so
Right.
like all the money that we put in comes from my day job, and my wife spends it all, so I don't have a lot to put on other stuff.
You were just demoted now. You are no longer.
This one's really cool. This is just a portable battery-powered grinder, so you can take it camping. It charges with a USB, and you can just put this is what I use in the French press. So this is like perfect amount for 3 to 4 cups out of a French press. You just put the grinds in, give it a little zip.
Nice.
Nice.
That wakes
this
up
is
the
like-
campground.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is like entry level for the quality of the grounds because you got to kind of shake it around. What I recommend is getting something with a burr, like a flat burr grinder. That allows you to really control the variable. Some of them are what they call limitless, so you can continuously change it and get finer or coarser for what you want. And that makes a huge impact on the flavor, right?
I'll have to show you mine. See if
Yeah.
you.
I have one that has a hopper and the dial to change
Yep.
the
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
is
same here.
It's
crazy.
like a Breville or something like that.
Yeah,
Or,
I used to have a Breville espresso maker, and now I'm kicking myself for
Yeah.
giving it away. But
Yeah, so it's funny too. Like I said, I don't hate on roasters or equipment and that sort of stuff. Breville gets a lot of hate because they're a very large company, but man, their like $600 to $1,000 espresso machines all in one with grinders are actually really, really good.
yeah, they're all stainless steel. I mean, the one I gave away was incredible. Even the espresso cups
Yep.
were metal.
Yep.
It was-
They've spent a lot of, because I nerd out on this stuff, they spent a lot of money in research and development on developing this equipment to help remove those variables. And that super, a high level impacts what your espresso comes out. So some of them now have a touch screen, one touch. It'll adjust the grind setting for you depending on how long the shot takes to come out. So it's really helping you get a really good shot every time. And people hate on them, like the coffee world hates on them, but the Brevilles are pretty good. If you want to get ultra nerdy, that's when you get into the San Remos or the Rockets or the La Marzocca, which are basically what they call prosumer, which is like almost commercial, but designed to be used inside of
highest
cups.
end you'd have in your kitchen.
Yeah, yeah.
The words you were dropping on us today.
Yeah, all right, sorry.
Unbelievable. No, it's great.
Are those
It's
all Italian made?
Such an education.
San Remo, La Marzocca, Rocket
Sound
are
like.
all Italian made, but there are some American ones. There's a company called Slayer. My friend Mike Brown and I go back and forth on it. He's like, I want to get one for my house. I'm like, bro, it's like $7,000. You do not need that for your house because I guarantee you I can make a better cup of coffee without that piece of equipment. But they're really cool.
Yeah.
Right? So
Wow.
I think the higher cost tends to automate more. Like you said, it
Yeah.
automatically figures out the ground settings and stuff. But
Yep.
if you know how to do all that, then you don't need it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of barista world championships where people go, men and women go to compete on making the best cup of coffee. There's a whole division dedicated to the AeroPress, which is like a $50 single serving coffee maker made of plastic, and it allows you to use pressure to push the coffee out similar to an espresso machine. And like with that $50 piece of equipment, you can literally make, because they've proven it, like the best cup of coffee you could make with that.
AeroPress.
So you don't need to spend $1,000. But
Right.
if you have the nosh and you want to get out there and get weird, you can
You
buy
can
some
do it.
really expensive stuff.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Wow.
So all this stuff that you're showing us here is all available on your website.
Yeah, all of it's available on our website. Our cups, the candle, it's a wood wick too, so it makes all the crackly sounds. I know
it's cedar.
ladies love that.
That's awesome.
The scrubs, our packages, and because you mentioned the French press, we actually have a package which comes with our coffee and the French press. So you're ready to go and can make coffee like Christmas Day. So we send you a bag of ground and a French press
Wow.
and something else. I'm going to be in trouble. Oh, espresso beans, all in one kit.
Oh,
So you
wow.
open it up Christmas morning, crack on some espresso beans, get yourself going, and then bang out a French press coffee.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So 2dogscoffeeco.com.
Yes, sir.
It's all available there.
Yeah.
Go check it out. I tell you, that last cup was phenomenal. I think that's now my favorite one.
Nice.
I still like the
You don't
cold
even
brew.
drink hot coffee, really.
I don't. And that was really, really good.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, go buy the sample pack, buy something.
Yeah.
Check these guys out. Support them. This coffee's great.
And,
Yeah.
and you should be able to drink it black and it tastes good. If
Absolutely.
you can't
Yeah.
drink it black, like
I agree.
Maybe try something else.
maybe try
Yeah.
Two Dogs. Maybe try Two Dogs. Yeah.
I agree. I don't. I've never put cream and sugar in my coffee. I've always drank it black. But that last one was
I
really
think that's
good.
when you can really taste the difference
Mm-hmm.
between good coffee and okay coffee is when there's no doctoring it up and
Yep.
it's just black.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, we'll have a little photo shoot with the products on the bench after we go off air, and we'll put it in the comments, and everybody like and share as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's what this platform's all about.
Yes.
Helping these small business communities. I don't know. Anything else?
I don't think so.
a
You got
good
anything you
spot.
want to add?
Feel free to stop by our social media pages. That helps us out. Ask some questions. Talk to us about coffee. If you have anything, my wife runs all the social media, but she'll reach out to me. I'm happy to help you dial in equipment or talk about the coffee you like. If you buy a bag and it doesn't come out the way you want, let us help you out. But we stand behind our product. We're locals here in Pomfret, and we're opening our shop in April 2024. I'd like to see you guys there. Come get a cup on me. Try some of our pastries and stuff. Should be good.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. And both Matt and I, small business owners. Well, you used to be. Now you're a real estate agent. So.
Hey, it's still a small business.
He's a very small
we try to support local as much as we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, check their coffee out. It's seriously really good. And I hate to say it, but if it wasn't, I'd look at you and say this kind of sucks. But no, it's really good
Cool.
because I'm that guy.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
I
no,
appreciate it.
it's really good. Everybody support local. Check them out. Like you said, April 20 of 2024.
Yep.
Yep. 157 Main Street, Danielson, Connecticut.
TwoDogsCoffeeCo.com.
Yes, sir.
Check them out.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Join us Monday when we interview the Tommy Toy Fund. As always, buy local and hire local. Have great days.
What time is that on Monday?
6-ish.
6-ish. All right. Take care, guys.